My name is Dr. Teresa Nicasio. I'm a psychologist and the author of Yum, Plant-Based Recipes for a Gluten-Free Diet. I do a lot of things in my work, but the most important thing I do is help people to open their hearts and to be able to enjoy more pleasure in life. I'm a big fan of pleasure, and what I want to talk about in a little bit is about responsible hedonism, to really embrace life. This idea of responsible hedonism was something that I was really proud of myself. I thought that I was new with creating it, but I've discovered since that way back, there was one of Socrates, one of his students, his name was Aristippus of Cyrene, 2,000 years ago, came up with a very similar concept called ethical hedonism. But the idea of responsible hedonism for me is really about mindfully living, joyfully living, just taking in the juice of life, the yumminess of life, fully, but doing it in a way that's responsible, that takes into account that there's others who live on the planet, that there's others who are impacted by our behavior. I never thought that I was going to write a cookbook. I actually didn't even like to cook before, just to put it on the table. It became a much more serious issue when I became very ill. And I became sick. I didn't know what was wrong, but at a certain point after many years, I discovered that certain foods didn't agree with my body. Once I figured those foods out, then I had a hard time because I couldn't find food that I could eat that was good. And so I'm Italian. I love food. I went to culinary school at a great school down in the States and became a gourmet raw food chef. And I also decided to study more about nutrition and became a certified raw food nutrition educator. Who would have guessed? Psychologist, mom, me. I ended up doing those things. So these things led to me developing more skills to develop the most incredible recipes that are drop dead delicious. My dad is really the inspiration for this book on many levels, and I've dedicated the book to him. He was this wonderful, wonderful man. Unfortunately, he had a lot of health problems. He had heart disease. He was diabetic. Unfortunately, he wasn't told he was diabetic until 5 years after he was diagnosed. He developed kidney disease, and he later ended up having a great deal of suffering. For me, his blood, his life, runs through this book for me, and if there's any way that I can help even one person not suffer the way he did, this is a real big part of my mission with sharing this book with the world. This book is as important and relevant to helping people have more emotional comfort, shifting their relationship with themselves, with their bodies, with food, as it is about the food itself. We have habits, and nothing is more habit-driven than the food that we eat. So when we're asked or told that we should change what we eat, it brings up a lot of feelings. And one of the things is it can bring up some feelings of loss. In addition, it can bring up issues around the social relationships and getting together with people, feeling like a burden. And when people feel like a burden, sometimes what they end up doing is they retreat more. The other piece about food and psychology that a lot of people don't realize is that there's a strong relationship between our thoughts, our thinking, our emotions, and what we eat. More research is coming forward about how inflammation may actually be a contributor to things like anxiety and depression and other sorts of emotional challenges, that if we can increase the anti-inflammatory foods, eat more foods that our bodies like, indirectly it can really help a person's emotional well-being. I've done everything I can in developing these recipes to take into account my understanding of the research about foods that can help fight cancer or prevent cancer, foods that are really heart healthy, foods that are lower in glycemic whenever possible, so that on top of it being entirely plant-based for those who want to increase the plant-based food that they eat, regardless of what they eat, whether they eat meat or eat dairy, or it doesn't matter. It gives people choices. The more we can shift our mindset, and that's really what Yum is about shifting a mindset into this mindful living, finding joy wherever we can, acknowledging, we can't fix everything, but seeing what do we have control of, how can we be empowered. I'd like to share one of my favorite tips that I share with clients. I call it the twice as long exercise. I encourage you to take at least twice as long with anything that you're experiencing or witnessing that makes you feel really good inside. Slow life down. So if you like watching a squirrel and you normally watch a certain period of time, watch them twice as long. If you like hugging your partner, we'll see what happens if you then just keep holding twice as long. And starting to live life that way, watching the sunrise or sunset twice as long, stroking your child's forehead twice as long. I'm telling you, this is like the best medicine on the planet.